Well, welcome back to Consuming Careers, the second time, Laurie. And you'll recall that we met in episode 21, and we had a great conversation on your front porch. But I told you I started this new series called Forgot to Ask, which is really, very simple, kind of one question that I found in my notes that I forgot to ask, and I wanted to ask. We'll just see where this goes. So if you recall, yeah. What did we talk? We talked about in our original interview a lot around imposter syndrome, and I think that really struck home with a lot of people, as well as purpose and the purpose that you found while you were doing a career search. So what I wanted to ask is really a question around legacy, and when you think about legacy in light of purpose, what kind of legacy are you thinking that you'd like to leave at work, at home, with friends, in just kind of your whole ecosystem?
Sure. That's a great question. And I'm glad that you're asking this, because it's definitely something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, pondering, trying to maybe wrap my arms around in terms of definition. And by way of explanation, I think, the first inkling that I had regarding legacy being important was the realization that my mom, who was a working woman beginning in the very early 70s, had done so much to, advance the persona of the working mom, the successful working mom, and had instilled that down on me.
Yeah.
At one point, I did stop to ponder what was I doing in terms of paying it forward to future generations, and what could I provide and leave for the generations coming up in general, and then specifically, like young women my daughter's age in particular. And I really felt kind of like I had fallen down on the job, so to speak. Like I really might not have been put my fair share. And so our conversation and the whole journey that I've been through regarding purpose, regarding imposter syndrome, regarding, allowing myself to fail publicly, right?
Yeah.
Really helped reframe, reset my perspective. And one of the things that I've been doing since we've talked, I've been engaging in small group facilitated discussion around the concepts around the purposefully human community or movement, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful concept of, what does it mean to be human, and how can we encourage being human in our day to day? And, it just kind of comes back to a lot of those concepts that we talked about. And I think underscoring the majority of it is being open and not being afraid to share these things and being transparent, because the reality of it is success is a human condition. Failure is a human condition. Struggle is a human condition. And I know that you and I talked about really why the original podcast had the appeal that it did. And I think I said at one point, right, I was talking about the stuff that we all go through, but that nobody really talks about, right?
Right.
And so I think, to answer your question directly, the legacy that I want to leave is it's okay to talk about this stuff, because at the end of the day, we are human, right? This is part of the human condition. So, share in your successes, but also don't hide your failures, because, you're not living or portraying yourself to your full potential if you don't. Now, obviously, you want to do it safely and you want to do it appropriately, proper context, proper people, right? Place, time, all of those things.
Sure.
But you know what? If you only ever hold that inside, it's a very, very heavy load to carry by yourself.
Wow. That's great. That's really awesome. Laurie, I think you've just teed up another podcast we're going to have to do together. Because that was...
Call me. I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's a reason we didn't get into that in the first podcast, because, it opens up a lot of doors. So.
Yeah. And, it's funny that you say that, because opening doors, after the original podcast, people, like, my email, my LinkedIn messaging, my phone, everybody was getting in
Wow.
touch with me. I
Yeah.
never knew. I share the same experience. I have the same struggles. I didn't know you went through that. And I'll be honest with you, my thinking on this as I take a step back, I'm like, I'm just me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I am who I am. And there's some stuff that I'm great at, and there's some stuff that I'm so at and working to improve. And then there's some stuff that I'm just horrible at. And that's okay, because that's how this is all supposed to work.
Yeah.
So, and then getting exposed to and getting involved in the purposefully human work, I think is just tremendous potential to really begin to spin the dialogue in a different direction. We can talk about things like user experience and customer experience and employee
Right.
experience
Right.
all day long.
Right.
Let's take it a step further and talk about, what does it mean to support humanness in whatever context?
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly. What does it mean to be able to support that personally, person to person, organization to person, all of it?
That's great. Laurie, thank you so much for taking the time for this
You're
last
welcome.
question I forgot to ask. So,
Yeah.
great seeing you. Looking forward to catching up again soon. And thanks again for joining me on this.
Thank you, Bruce. Great to be back in touch. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on Consuming Careers. If you've enjoyed the show, please click the follow button in your podcast app so you won't miss any of our future episodes. And if you have a minute, write us a review. We truly appreciate hearing from our listeners. And as always, I'm Bruce Smith, and you've been listening to Consuming Careers.